The warehouse sat on the edge of a quiet German encampment, its wooden walls creaking under the winter wind. Inside, a group of German military engineers gathered around a long table. Resting at the center was an object that had stirred curiosity the moment it arrived from the front lines, a captured American M1 carbine. The men approached it slowly, as though examining an artifact from another era. One of the engineers, Oberleutnant Weber, lifted the carbine into his hands. His brows tightened as he studied the smooth American craftsmanship. Right away, he noticed how light it felt, almost shockingly so compared to the Karabiner 98K that German soldiers lugged across battlefields. The wooden stock fit perfectly against his shoulder, and the balance was nearly ideal. Another engineer, Feldwebel Kramer, tapped the receiver with a pencil. "Look at this machining," he murmured. "It lacks the weight of our rifles but somehow keeps its rigidity. This is built for speed, not for brute force." They all knew the K98K was accurate and dependable, but also slow. Cycling the bolt after every shot was time-consuming and demanded both hands. In contrast, the M1 carbine seemed engineered for movement, for rapid engagement, for modern warfare. They passed the weapon around, each man noting details, the simple sights, the placement of the safety switch, the compact magazine release. Every aspect seemed designed with a clear philosophy: empower the soldier to react quickly. Weber placed the M1 carbine beside a standard K98K. The contrast was jarring. One was long, heavy, and sturdy. The other was compact, agile, and unmistakably practical. For the first time, the German engineers began to understand the reports from the front. American soldiers firing rapidly, maintaining momentum, overwhelming positions before German troops could cycle their bolts. The M1 carbine suddenly felt less like a curiosity and more like a warning. One engineered advantage at a time, the Americans were changing the rules of infantry combat. The cold morning fog lingered over the small firing range as the engineers prepared for the live demonstration. Targets made of wooden planks stood at varying distances, waiting to be tested. Weber inserted a 15-round magazine into the M1 carbine, chambered a round, and took a steady breath. He pulled the trigger. Bang, bang, bang. The gun responded with a smooth rhythm, each shot following the last without pause or mechanical interruption. No awkward bolt to lift, no sudden break in stance. Just continuous fire as fast as Weber could pull the trigger. The others murmured in awe. The muzzle barely climbed, allowing Weber to stay on target longer than he ever could with the K98K. When the magazine emptied, the engineers exchanged glances, concerned, impressed, and slightly unsettled. Feldwebel Kramer stepped forward with the K98K for comparison. He fired one round, then lifted the bolt, pulled it back, chambered another, and realigned his aim. The difference in rhythm was almost embarrassing. The K98K demanded time. The M1 carbine demanded only the will to keep shooting. Weber loaded a second magazine and fired again, now while moving. The carbine performed effortlessly, even while he advanced from cover to cover. It was obvious. This weapon wasn't just about firepower, it was about fluid motion. One engineer whispered, "Imagine a squad of Americans, each with this speed. Our troops wouldn't have time to react." As the session concluded, their expressions confirmed what they feared. The M1 carbine gave the Americans not just a technological edge, but a battlefield tempo the Germans were struggling to match. Back in their workshop, the engineers placed the M1 carbine on a large sheet of paper and carefully began disassembling it. Piece by piece, the weapon came apart smoothly, revealing a simple yet clever internal design. The first thing they noticed was the gas-operated system. Unlike the complex mechanisms found in many European rifles, the M1 used a short-stroke piston that delivered reliable cycling with minimal carbon buildup. It was easy to clean, easy to maintain, and unlikely to fail under battlefield stress. The engineers laid the components side by side: bolt, slide, recoil spring, trigger housing. Everything seemed engineered with efficiency in mind. Not overbuilt, not excessive, just optimized. Kramer examined the ammunition next. He held up a .30 carbine round and compared it with the powerful 7.92 x 57 mm Mauser round used by German rifles. The American cartridge was lighter and produced less recoil, but that wasn't a weakness. In fact, it was the key to maintaining fast, accurate fire in close to medium combat ranges. "This isn't meant to kill at 800 meters, Kramer said. It's meant to win the fight at 80. The engineers studied the design for portability. Soldiers could carry more ammunition with less weight. Magazines could be swapped quickly. Even the stock shape encouraged dynamic fighting positions. In their calculations, the engineers realized an American soldier armed with an M1 carbine could deliver up to 5 times the effective rate of fire compared to a German infantryman armed with a K98k. The report they began drafting no longer felt like a technical evaluation, it felt like an admission. Germany wasn't just facing strong enemy soldiers, they were facing an enemy equipped for the speed and chaos of modern combat. A group of German infantrymen gathered near a mock urban training site built from crates, sandbags, and broken walls. Today, they would run a controlled exercise using the captured M1 carbine to observe its impact in simulated combat. The first soldier stepped forward with the M1 carbine. At the signal, he rushed between cover points, firing quickly at the plywood silhouettes. The carbine barked in rapid succession, bang 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 bang, as he moved. He didn't stop to cycle a bolt, didn't lose sight alignment, and didn't break his flow. The officers watching were stunned at how natural the motion appeared. The soldier transitioned from one target to another with ease, covering more ground in less time, staying low and mobile. Then the same soldier ran the drill again with the K98k. This time, every shot broke his rhythm. Fire, cycle, aim, fire, cycle. He was forced to rise higher behind cover, exposing more of himself. His movement slowed. His concentration broke between shots. The difference was dramatic. The officers, some of whom had first-hand experience on the Eastern Front, exchanged serious looks. In close-range fights, this M1 would dominate before we could even raise our rifles properly, one muttered. A second soldier ran the drill, confirming the same results. A third performed even worse with the K98k after experiencing the speed advantage of the M1. By the end of the simulation, the conclusion was unmistakable. The Americans possessed a weapon that fundamentally changed small unit engagements. The German soldiers weren't lacking courage, they were lacking firepower that matched the pace of modern combat. In the dim light of their underground bunker, the engineers gathered to complete their report. Papers littered the table, notes on fire rate, weight analysis, operational testing, and battlefield simulations. Oberleutnant Weber stood at the head of the table and read aloud from the draft. The M1 carbine grants American infantry a significant tactical advantage in mobility, reaction speed, and sustained fire in all short-range engagements. He looked up at the others. No one disagreed. The weapon wasn't perfect. It lacked long-range punch and couldn't match the raw stopping power of the German 7.92mm round. But wars were no longer being won solely at long distances. Modern battlefields were faster, more fluid, more chaotic. The Americans had designed a weapon that matched the realities of evolving warfare. Their troops could carry more ammunition, move faster, and maintain constant suppression against German positions. In ambushes, urban combat, night fights, and forest engagements, the carbine gave them the edge. Kramer added, "Our soldiers are brave, disciplined, and skilled. But bravery means little when the enemy fires 5 shots before we can fire 1." As Weber signed the final page of the report, the room grew quiet. The engineers realized their findings carried a grim truth. They were not falling behind because of poor strategy or lack of resolve. They were falling behind because America was arming its soldiers with weapons built for the future, while Germany remained trapped in the past. The last line of the report reflected that harsh reality. The war is no longer about who shoots straightest, but who shoots fastest.